Ask for the attention of our audience at this moment for terrible news just into us and just confirmed by us. The death of legendary Georgia Democratic Congressman and civil rights icon John Lewis. We have a look back at his extraordinary life and times from NBC News correspondent Jeff Bennett.
Congressman John Lewis was often called the conscience of Congress, known as a moral leader who commanded respect from Democrats and Republicans, seen as one of the last unifying forces in national politics. Lewis was one of 10 children born to sharecroppers in rural Alabama in 1940. He grew up on his family's farm and attended segregated public schools. Lewis said he was inspired as a young boy by the activism surrounding the Montgomery bus boycott and sermons by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., which he heard on the radio.
If the Spirit moves us to, we have a right to march at night anytime we want to march.
All of it spurring him to become part of the civil rights movement, organizing sit-in demonstrations at segregated lunch counters in Nashville, Tennessee. In 1961, joining in the Freedom Rides, which challenged segregation at interstate bus terminals across the South.
I was not concerned about making history. I just wanted to change things.
While still in his 20s, John Lewis became a nationally recognized leader.
I grew in the movement to accept the way of love, the way of peace, the way of nonviolence, the way of forgiveness.
By 1963, he was dubbed one of the Big Six leaders of the civil rights movement. At the age of 23, he was an architect of and a keynote speaker at the historic March on Washington.
I have a dream.
But it was in 1965 when Lewis helped spearhead one of the most seminal moments of the civil rights movement. He led more than 600 peaceful protesters against the Edmund Pettus marching in support of voting rights. The group brutally beaten by Alabama state troopers in what became known as Bloody Sunday.
I lost consciousness. 50 years later, I don't recall how I made it back across that bridge to the little church that we had left from.
News broadcasts and photographs of the cruelty helping to hasten the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965.
And we were taught never to become bitter, never to hate.
John Lewis's activism continued in Congress.
We have lost hundreds and thousands of innocent people to gun violence.
In 2016, after a mass shooting at an Orlando nightclub killed 49 people, Lewis led a House sit-in trying to force a vote on gun legislation. John Lewis often spoke of the good trouble he caused in the 1960s and in the political fight since, invoking the moral courage that fueled his lifelong fight for civil rights.
When you see something that is not right, not just, not fair, you have a moral obligation to say something, to do something.
Jeff Bennett, NBC News, Washington.